Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ari, and today is the start of a vlog where I'm reading all of the books for Goodreads Choice Awards fantasy category that I haven't read yet. Now, if you were here for last Tuesday's video, I have read 11 out of the 20 books, which means there's 9 to go. I am going to try to get through as many of those as I can in this video, but they're fantasy books, so it's not gonna be like I got through 7 this week or anything crazy like that. Anything that I don't get read in this vlog, I still have 5 more days to read. And in the United States, it's a holiday weekend. I'm not doing anything special for Thanksgiving. It's just gonna be me and my dog hanging out, so I have plenty of extra time to read because I will be off for Thanksgiving Day, or because it's a 4-day weekend. Let's just jump into the reading vlog part of this and see how many of these 9 remaining books I end up getting through and what I think about them. Okay, day 1. Off to a great start. Captain's ready. You ready? Okay. Michael's also ready. Everybody's ready. It is almost 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 14th. I have 9 books to read in the next, I don't know how many days. I'm gonna try to do most of them in this vlog. This is just gonna be a week-long vlog where, you know, I talk about what books I'm reading. So we've made a start. I haven't finished anything yet, but like I said, it's 8 p.m. on the day that this is announced, but I have made a start. So let's start with the audiobook. I went to like the library and the grocery store and all that fun, you know, weekly chore shit stuff, and started Vinco, because I got this earlier this year from Libro FM. So I am a Libro FM affiliate, and every month they give me like a handful of audiobooks that I can listen to for free. So anytime that I can sit there and listen to something, like I can't physically read, but I can sit there and listen, I'm gonna try to get this one. I'm 11% in so far. It's bad in the way that I thought it would be bad. Like, we have Salem witches who are trying to form a coven based off of some prophecy, and they need the 6th and 7th witch. They have to find the 6th witch, and once they find the 6th witch, they have like 17 days to find the 7th or something like that. And we are in the we've got like 2 perspectives. Well, I guess it's more than 2. One of them seems to be like 3 women combined. It's the maiden, mother, and crone. And so we've got their perspective. And then we have the 6th witch's perspective. And she doesn't know she's a witch. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah. I just don't like witches. Other than that, it's fine. If you like witches, this is very generic witchy, and you'll probably like this. I just don't like witches. I also started A Day of Fallen Night last night. I'm 39 chapters in. Yeah. So 331 pages. Not quite halfway, but almost halfway. And if you're asking, Ari, I thought you said you hated Pride Over the Orange Tree and you don't want to read this book. Why the F do you own a copy of it? Well, let me tell you, this is one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen in my life, and it was $4. So I bought it because it's pretty, and I can display it on my shelf. I didn't buy it to read it. Duh. But yeah, so I started this just because I had it. Easy start last night. It's as boring as I expected it to be. I do not give a shit about anything in this book. So what I plan to do with this is read like a little bit each day, and that way I don't have to suffer through this boring thing all like straight through. I'm just gonna break it up, read at least some of it each day, get as far as I can. You know the drill. Also made a library run, and I have 4 books so far. This is what came in. I assume I'm gonna get the other 4 soon. I don't know if I'm waiting for them to be returned to the library or if they're at other libraries, but I can easily make a start off of 4. So we've got, and I think I'm gonna start with The Unmaking of June Farrow and read this one first, simply because this is the shortest. It's like very close between the 2 of these, but this one sounds more interesting. So I'm going to read this one first and then probably move to this one second. Try to get these 2 done in the next 2 days and then get as much of Day of Fallen Night and Vinco done in between my time reading these. And then I can readdress. But these 2 are longer and I don't want to read this one. Why are the ones that I really don't want to read the long books? I feel like I'm being attacked. Just saying, I kind of feel like I'm being attacked. But yeah, I'm going to start with this one. I'll check back in later. So I'm like 140-ish pages into The Unmaking of June Farrow, and I think I finally understand what it's about. The Farrows are a family of women who are cursed. They're considered cursed. As far as I can tell, the curse, or from the get-go, the curse seems to be that they have a history of mental instability and insanity going on in their family. And June is the youngest of the Farrow women. She's the last one living in 2023. And she knows her grandmother had insanity issues. Her mother had insanity issues. It just assumes it goes back further and further. And she is determined that this is going to end with her, and she is not going to have kids even though she desperately wants children. Normally, I'd be out at that, but we're reading this for a purpose, so continue on. From what I can tell, it seems to be time travel. Is that the women can time travel, and their memories kind of overlap with each other, because she's in 2003, or no, she's in 2023 and remembering stuff from the 1950s, but she hasn't time traveled to the 1950s yet. So, yeah. I don't know. The vibe of this whole thing is very much like Practical Magic, where it's like cursed women in a family with all the flowers and everything like that. They own a flower farm. It's fine so far. I like the fact that our protagonist is in her 30s. Don't really care about the whole family thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it today, but I'm going to attempt to get as far as I can before bed, and I will probably check in tomorrow. I have finished The Unmaking of June Farrow, and this just wasn't for me. That's the nicest way I can describe it, and we're just gonna leave it at that. This is like whimsical romance, like a Nicholas Sparks novel with magic. I got a lot of vibes of Practical Magic in here, but also The Lake House. Is that what it's called? The movie from like the early 2000s with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock with like the time traveling mailbox thing. Like that was the vibe of this. It's like, I would say this is fantasy romance, but it doesn't really fit what you would like, it doesn't really fit the like fairy porn aspect of fantasy romance, so I kind of understand why it's in fantasy instead of romantasy. But this is in and of itself a romance, and it's about this woman and her husband and her kids and time travel in family and shit that I just don't care about. It was written well enough. It's just not my vibe. So I would give it like a 2.5, 3 stars. And I'm gonna put it at, how many books do I have so far? So this would be the 12th book. I'm gonna put it at 11 out of 12. So right now, I still think this is better than The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, which is currently at my bottom spot. I don't think The Last Tale of the Flower Bride is gonna stay at my bottom spot, but currently it's at my bottom spot because that book was all about codependency, which is worse than family. This dog is making the loudest noises in the background, so I'm sorry if you can hear it. Why are you breathing so loud? Why are you breathing so loud? It is entirely unnecessary. I'm gonna move on to Victory City and see if I can get this done today as well. But yeah, I'm not a fan, but it's not a bad book. Victory City. So basically what this is a sorceress in India in antiquity lived to be 250 years old. During her life, she wrote this really long epic poem just about herself and all of her great works and her life and everything like that, right? She kind of hid it in a time capsule when she died, and it was found 450 years later. Basically what this is a scholar has taken this epic poem and translated it and is telling the story of that epic poem in just like generic prose. I'm gonna DNF it, at least for right now, because this is written like nonfiction. This is so incredibly dry and boring, and I just don't care. So, like, I've been reading all day, and I'm like not even 100 pages in. I keep getting distracted, and like I fell asleep at some point. This is just not interesting at all. So, like I said, DNF it for now. If I have time, I may come back to it. Like, if this is the only book I haven't read and I just need it for like completionist purposes, I'll come back to it. Right now, I'm gonna DNF it. I am going to go back to A Day of Fallen Night for now, and then I'm gonna make another run to the library tomorrow because 2 more holds have come in, and then I'll read one of those books. Okay, it's Thursday, time for another check-in. I made another library run, so I have 2 more library books. I got Stone Blind and Vinco. This is the one out of all of the library books that I have that I'm most looking forward to, so I'm gonna read this one first. Hopefully it's good, because I'm kind of running out of hope here. But before I start reading this, I'm almost finished with A Day of Fallen Night, so I think I can finish this tonight, start this one. Yeah. Anyway, let's do a check-in on this one since I can finally kind of tell you what it's about. Prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. This happened like 500 years before the events of Priory of the Orange Tree, and this seems to be a case of like history repeats itself, where from what I can tell, every 500 years the evil bad dragons or worms or whatever we're gonna call them wake up and like try to kill everybody, because that's their thing. That's what they want to do. And this is like the last time the dragons woke up, following 4 characters who are like ancestors of the characters in Priory. But yeah, it feels like the same story, basically. I mean, obviously the actions and everything are different because it's different people, but a lot of it feels like the same story. It is so unnecessary for this to be nearly 900 pages. It was unnecessary for Priory to be 900 pages. It is even more unnecessary for the exact same story to be basically retold and then be another 900 pages. If you want a character-driven narrative and you just want mostly sapphic characters and then one bisexual man, this could be the book for you. I don't want this. I didn't want to read this. I will say the pacing in here is better than Priory, but it's still way too long. And I don't care about these people. So yeah. I'm still gonna finish it. I think it's gonna be a 3-star. I don't think there's anything that is going to get me through, or I don't think there's anything that's gonna make up for the 700 pages that I've already read that is gonna make this anything higher than a 3-star. I guess it could go lower, it could be a 2-star, but for right now I'm gonna say it's a 3-star, and I will do a check-in with you once I am done and switch over to Stone Blind. I finished A Day of Fallen Night last night. This is pretty much exactly what I expected. The ending was anticlimactic, but again, I expected it to be anticlimactic based off of the Priory. It's fine. It's a 3-star. It's not for me. It's too long. My question is like, why this story? Out of everything that happens in this universe, like that we got introduced to in this story and Priory, like why is Samantha Shannon telling this story? Like, I would like to know, like, if I was going to read a prequel, I would like to read like where the first dragon came from and the story of the ancestors that began all of this with like Cleland and everything like that. Why these random ancestors in this not story? Because there wasn't any action. The plot was repetitive from Priory, and all around it just, unless you really, really love these characters, you're not going to enjoy this story. Who is this for? People who like narratives, like character-driven narratives, where there's not really any plot, you don't need a plot, you just really like the characters and want to read about them. You're probably going to like these characters if you like queer characters, because I will say the representation in here is very good. There are 4 perspective characters for the most part. 2 of them are sapphic women. 1 is a bisexual man, and 1, I'm gonna say she's asexual. Based off of, like, she might be bisexual, but I think she leans more towards asexual. And if all you're looking for is looking for queer representation where you can read 900 pages about the power of queer women, this might be a book for you. But if you want, like, high fantasy, action-packed, fighting dragons, going on quests, things like that, I think you're gonna get bored really quickly. As far as like where this stands in the ranking right now, it's not very high up, but it's definitely not the worst book on this list. I'm gonna put it, I've read 13 books, so I'm gonna put it 11 out of 13, which means The Unmaking of June Farrow and The Last Tale of the Flower Bride are below this on the list still. I'm sure I'm gonna read worse books than this. I just think this is unnecessarily long. Okay, I have finished Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. And this is an interesting one because there's so much I like about this book. Somebody is snoring in the background and he's very mad that I'm talking and disturbing his sleep. First off, the chapters are really, really short, which is how I prefer chapters. I don't know why, but I typically like the really short chapters. And it's from a bunch of different perspectives, and it's telling the story of like Medusa and I guess Perseus. He's involved in this, but like Medusa is the main character. I also appreciate how like incompetent all of the heroes and the gods are in this book. Like the women are smart and the men and the gods, including the female gods, are just petulant child idiots. It's all good. I like that. I think it's funny. I think a lot of this book was amusing. The thing that I don't like though, and this is such a big thing, is that these petulant children of gods and heroes just treat women's bodies like they own them, which is very accurate for Greek mythology, unfortunately. So while I think that Natalie Haynes did a great job telling the story in a, I'm gonna say, historically accurate way, because this is mythology, it's not real, but it's based off of like what people believe in Greece historically, in antiquity. But I still don't like reading about men like that. If I wanted to see that or read about it, I would just, you know, watch the news. Ew. So just the fact that all of these women were constantly sexually assaulted, or their bodies were otherwise controlled by these petulant man children, was very gross to me, and that affected my enjoyment of the story. I like how the story was told, I like the writing, I just didn't actually like the story. And the thought with that is like, okay, well, why are you reading Greek retellings if like all Greek mythology is like this? And yeah, it is, and that's a problem that I have with a lot of Greek retellings. I think Jennifer Saint does it really well, where she gives the women agency and power. Yeah, I'm going to continue with this trend where every single book that I read for this video is going in spot 11. So it just gets a little bit better each time, but it's still at 11. So again, spot 11, there's so much I like about this one, but there's also so much that I don't like about this one. Just know going into it, if it sounds interesting to you and that is something that you can stand to read, I would definitely recommend it. It's just not something that I particularly enjoy. Next up, I'm going to read The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. Not super excited about this. It's also a pretty thick book, but it is Saturday, so I figure I have a lot of extra time today. I can spend the whole day reading. I might as well get one of the thick books off of this list. And even though I don't like Mark Lawrence as a person, I don't mind his writing. So I don't think I'm gonna hate this. I just think, or I just know that how I feel about an author tends to taint how I feel about the book. So I think this is gonna be just down the middle average, based off of what I've read from him before, where it's fine, but it's not great. But there's nothing that I like absolutely hate about the story itself. So we're going for a even mid on this one. We have a guest star right here. Right here. So it's Sunday night. I have finished The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. And I've already talked about in multiple videos why I don't like Mark Lawrence as a person, so let's just talk about the book in this clip. Easy enough. This was actually really good. I'm not going to continue the series unless it, you know, shows up in the Goodreads Choice Awards again, I guess, or some other thing that kind of like requires me to read books that I normally wouldn't read. But this book in and of itself was pretty damn good. At least for me, it hits a lot of the things that I really like in books. Specifically, this fantasy universe is a library that really has no end. Like, it's an infinite library. There are like portals to other times and other dimensions and stuff like that. So a lot's going on here. It gives a whole lot of the Starless Sea vibes. And overall, it was a pretty good book. Like, I enjoyed my time with it. The only thing I would really say is obviously you have to decide on your own if you're willing to read Mark Lawrence books. Like, I'm not your mom, do what you want. And this also has like a really, really big cliffhanger at the end. So if you're somebody who doesn't like cliffhangers, I would definitely recommend for like the full series to come out before you pick this up, if you decide that this kind of endless library thing is your thing. This follows two characters. You've got a young boy who like has been trapped in a room in the library his entire life, and like generations and generations of his people have been trapped in this library room. And then you have a young girl who grew up outside of the city where this great library is, and there was an attack on her settlement when she was young and ended up going to the city and started kind of working for the library, I guess. And then their paths cross over and over again throughout like the plot of this book. This world has like a never-ending war going on between like two races of people. So that's like kind of always going on in the background of these people's lives in the library. And you know, that's pretty much the whole plot of this. Like I said, it was really good. I don't have anything else to say. I guess I should tell you what place it goes, which I didn't actually look. So let me figure out where its placement is. This is our first book that is not in 11th place in this vlog. Yay, I guess. I'm gonna put this in 6th place because I think it was better than Swordcatcher, but I don't think it was as good as The Witch King by Martha Wells. Still 4-star, still a pretty good book, just basing it on its merits as a book alone, but not like top 5, I guess. Next up, I'm going to read The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This will probably be the last book I could get to in this vlog, which means there are 4 books left that I need to read by the 26th, which is a week from the day that I'm recording this. So I definitely could do 5, well, 5 including this one. I can definitely do 5 books by then. Wish me luck on figuring out what the fuck is going on in this universe, since there's 3 books before this that I haven't read. At least I'll be able to give you an opinion on this if it makes any sense, or if you need to read the other 3 books first. It is early Tuesday morning. I wanted to do one last check-in so I could edit this clip, finish out this video before I have to go to work today. I am reading The Fragile Threads of Power, but I'm not done. You need to see this bookmark. Anyway, not quite done, but reading it. This doesn't look like a very long book, but these papers are like Bible thin, and this has 600 something pages. Yeah, like 640 pages in this book. So this is a lot longer than it looks. I thought it was like a 300-page book. Question on everybody's mind is, can you read this and start the series with this book like I did? No, you can't. I have no fucking idea what is going on. I don't understand anything going on, and I am 100% sure there has been some like huge spoilers for the first 3 books in here, which makes sense. This is the 4th book in a series. I'm just starting with it. This takes place like 7 to 10 years after the end of the first series. And it follows some of the same characters. I definitely, or I for the most part can tell like who the characters were from the first book and who were new characters. And I like the people I assume are new characters more than I like the characters that are repeated from the previous book, which just could be because they're being introduced to everybody, and so I'm learning more about them, and I should already know about the characters who are older characters. The 2 characters that I'm positive are new characters. Neither one of them have a lot of chapters. So most of the time I'm reading from perspectives of people that, like I said, I assume are from the first book, and I'm kind of bored and I don't really care. But I'm 100% sure that's because I haven't read the first 3 books. So that will be a goal for next year, is to read the first 3 books of this series, and I might try to reread this one so I understand what's going on. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this. I don't care about spoilers. It's just not something I care about. Oh, it's here. He has arrived. Anyway. Thank you for joining me for this like weird little vlog-like video. I am going to, like off camera obviously, within the next week, finish the last 4 books. It is the week of Thanksgiving in the United States, so I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and I have no plans for Thanksgiving. I'm not doing anything for Thanksgiving. So I will have plenty of time to finish the last 4.5 books that I need to read, but I'm not going to do a separate vlog just for those 4 books. So if you want to know my overall rankings and what I thought about every single book, I will have a video up in December whenever the winners are announced, and I will basically go through all of the books, tell you like what they're about, what I think about them, who would I'd recommend them to, and probably give you some comps if I can think of comps. But yeah, that is everything, and I will see you next week.